Coming of Age is coming up next. I'm your host, Josh Newby. Today, we'll discuss a common problem for aging individuals, hearing loss, and we'll discuss the many ways you can improve that hearing with Baptist Medical Group. Then we'll talk about the benefits and services available through in-home care. It's less expensive and more ideal than a nursing home, and we've got Home Instead Senior Care here to help us make sense of it all. Finally, we'll solve some common challenges faced by individuals with disabilities. Stay tuned. Coming of Age starts right now. As we age, staying active in life and involved in the community can become a challenge. But with Council on Aging of West Florida's range of home-based services, you remain healthy, independent, and engaged. From Meals on Wheels and respite care to senior dining sites and the retreat, you'll feel empowered to regain your freedom while retaining what makes you, you. We've been in the community for nearly 50 years, advocating for elders and supporting those who care for our parents and grandparents. We were there when your father's health began declining, when your mother needed companionship during the day. And guess what? We'll be there down the road when you need those services too. Now, join with us as we talk together about the aging issues that matter to you. Hearing loss is a common byproduct of the aging process. In fact, more than 70% of adults older than 75 experience some degree of hearing loss. Having difficulty hearing can impact your quality of life in many ways. But the good news is that options for significantly improving hearing, including life-changing cochlear implants, are available right here in Pensacola. Baptist Medical Group ENT surgeon Dr. Tom Babcock is an expert in cochlear implantation, and he's with us today to explain how a cochlear implant can benefit older adults. Doctor, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you very much for having me.
To get started, share a little bit about your experience.
So I'm an otologist and neurotologist. That's an ENT surgeon, ear, nose, and throat surgeon that specializes in diseases of the ear and skull base, like hearing loss, chronic ear infections, dizziness, vertigo, skull base tumors. So an otologist and neurotologist does a general ear, nose, and throat residency, and then subsequently does 2 years of fellowship to specialize in disorders related to the ear. Okay. I'm a Pensacola native, and typically otologists and neurotologists practice in an academic setting or large metropolitan areas. So I saw a need for this type of subspecialty care in the Pensacola area, so I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome. Obviously, we're here to talk about hearing loss, and you're an expert in that. What are some of the contributing factors that might lead to hearing loss?
So as we age, most of us will experience what we call age-related hearing loss. Mm-hmm. And age-related hearing loss is kind of a combination of genetic factors and environmental factors such as occupational noise exposure. Mm-hmm. After about age 75, 70% of people have some degree of hearing loss. And there's some uncommon or less common types of hearing loss, like related to chronic ear infections, acute noise trauma, skull base tumors, but most people as we age experience, in general, what we call age-related hearing loss.
So what are the signs and symptoms of age-related hearing loss? And I guess more importantly, how do you diagnose that?
Sure. There's a lot of variability in the age of onset, progression, severity of hearing loss, so the presentation can be quite variable. Mm-hmm. Most patients come to me when they start noticing that they're having difficulty using the telephone, difficulty in conversation, particularly in complex listening environments like with background noise, having turned the television up louder, avoiding social situations where they might have difficulty hearing.
Sure.
And it's diagnosed by kind of obtaining a history from the patient to see what contributing factors might be attributing to the hearing loss. Okay. And then they have formal hearing testing with our audiologists that test both their degree of hearing loss and their ability to perceive speech.
Can that hearing loss be reversed or mitigated in any way?
Most types of hearing loss, including age-related hearing loss, cannot be reversed. But fortunately, most types of hearing loss have ways to rehabilitate the hearing, such as conventional hearing aids or cochlear implants that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, well, explain a little bit more about that, because there is a difference between a hearing aid and maybe a more permanent solution. What are those differences?
Sure. The primary factor that determines what a patient will perform best with is their degree of hearing loss and their ability to perceive speech. If a patient with increased volume still maintains speech perception, they'll likely get benefit from a conventional hearing aid.
Okay.
But those patients that have lost a significant ability to perceive speech, even with increased volume with hearing aids, are likely a candidate for something called a cochlear implant. And a cochlear implant is an implantable hearing device that's placed behind the ear, and it converts sound energy into an electrical signal that directly stimulates the hearing nerve.
And I understand you're the only specialist in the Pensacola area currently serving that cochlear implantation need. Is that right?
Correct.
So what are the average age of some of your patients, and how do they go about receiving that help or even knowing if that is the right fit for them?
So primarily it's two age populations that get cochlear implants. Very young children that are born deaf or with hearing loss or have a rapidly progressive hearing loss after birth, or patients as they get older with progressive hearing loss. And in adults, we serve patients of all ages, well into their 90s.
Oh, wow.
And the cochlear implantation in the elderly is actually a very hot current topic in our literature. We used to think that age was a restricting factor to cochlear implantation, but we're finding now that as patients get older, even with age, they derive significant benefit from cochlear implants. And it's showing that with age, with hearing loss, there's significant social factors related to the hearing loss, like feelings of social isolation, feeling of dependence on others, feelings of depression. And we're seeing that those effects are mitigated when people have hearing restoration.
I mean, it must literally be a life-changing and life-enhancing experience to get your hearing back in that way. Tell me about your very first patient.
So my very first patient that got a cochlear implant was a very special and rewarding experience. She had progressive hearing loss since early adulthood for a type of hearing loss that usually starts around the time of pregnancy or can start around the time of pregnancy. So she was in her late 70s and had hearing loss since her 30s, 40s. So had not heard her loved ones clearly in conversation, was mostly lip reading since that time.
Wow.
So in late December of last year, we did our first cochlear implantation on an adult in Pensacola. And she derived significant benefit, and the day that her cochlear implant was activated was really exciting for her and her family.
And for you too, I'm sure. It must have been a thrill.
Absolutely.
So tell us how someone can schedule an appointment and sort of begin down this road if they think this is a possibility for them.
If a patient thinks they have hearing loss or thinks they suffer from hearing loss, they can contact the office to schedule an appointment with myself or one of my partners, as well as our audiologist to get a formal hearing evaluation. Oftentimes patients are referred to us from their primary care physician or other ENT physicians in the area that don't have all the options for hearing rehabilitation.
Okay. It's great information. I appreciate you coming on, Dr. Babcock.
Thank you very much.
Up next, we'll chat with Home Instead Senior Care about an exciting alternative to nursing homes for individuals who need personalized help.
Why do people love ACT's retirement life communities? There are more reasons than just the active lifestyle. Like ACT's Life Care, a plan that protects your nest egg with predictable monthly fees, even if your healthcare needs increase, so you can enjoy a carefree today and a worry-free tomorrow. Plan a visit and see why our satisfaction rating with current residents stands at 98%. ACT's Retirement Life Communities, where loving kindness lives.
Do you know why people are frightened about someday being placed in a nursing home? It is probably because they have visited one. Nursing home abuse is real, and it happens to people in all walks of life every day. If you think that a loved one may have been injured, abused, or neglected, you may be the only one that can help protect their rights. The consultation is free, and you are never charged a fee or cost unless we take your case and win. Give us a call.
The Residence is Covenant Care's new assisted living community for individuals with Alzheimer's and dementia, with life-enriching amenities and innovative care. Our 50% off move-in fee is good until February 1st. Call today.
When cancer tries to take you away from the things that matter most, Baptist Cancer Institute offers caring physicians and the most innovative treatment options. With convenient locations and a wide array of support programs and services, we're here to help you during the most difficult of times. As a member of the Mayo Clinic Care Network, we're bringing even more innovative cancer care to our community right here at home. When you need cancer care, we'll be there.
Everyone wants to remain at home for as long as possible, and companies like Home Instead Senior Care make that possible through a variety of services. There's no place like home, and as you'll see, there's nothing like in-home care. Here with me is Stacy Rebello, owner and vice president of Home Instead Senior Care here in Pensacola. Stacy, thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Tell me about Home Instead Senior Care and in-home services.
Well, Home Instead Senior Care is pretty unique. What we do is we employ caregivers, home health aides, and CNAs that keep seniors at home as long as possible. And at home can be wherever they call home. So it can be whether it's in a facility, or it could be whether in a short-term stay in the hospital, or it could be in a traditional home. Mm-hmm. The goal is to make sure that they are at home safe and they're happy.
Sure. What are some of the services that you offer? Take us through some of those.
We do anything from home care, which our home care is more like the light housekeeping, meal preparation, going to the doctor, companionship.
Sure.
As we all know that that's a big one, that socialization. And then we do personal care services, which is bathing, grooming, and incontinence issues. And then we also do specialized services, which, if they're more of like hospice care and they need supplemental services like us, we can come in and help give the family relief. Or if they're bedbound, or if they have dementia, then we can also specialize in that as well.
So it's really almost any point in the spectrum of elder care, you guys are there to help them with whatever the need is.
As long as it's within non-medical care.
Sure.
Yeah. When it gets into more skilled care, that's out of the scope of care for us. But we remain really focused on the non-medical portion, and that really what has made Home Instead so unique. Is so we really try to make sure that all of our employees are specifically trained in those areas.
I wanted to talk, I'm glad you brought that up about the employees, because a lot of people, they might be a little fearful, honestly, of leaving their loved one with someone that, they haven't met, they're relatively a stranger. Take us through the onboarding process, the training, the background screening, stuff like that.
Typically we just look for caregivers, that have, had some sort of experience with seniors. And, they can be someone young that's really trying to enter into the workforce that wants to get into healthcare, or it can be someone who is maybe even coming out of their workforce and they just want something to do. In fact, we have a program we're really trying to put out in the community right now called Unretire Yourself. So that really is focusing on some of these caregivers that are coming back into the workforce, because as we all know, we're living a lot longer, and so people are retiring at 65 and they realize that they still want to keep working. So this gives them really purpose in coming back and helping seniors. And even if they've been in healthcare all these years, they still go through our training program. Our training program is world class. It's through the it's endorsed by the Alzheimer's Association. But Home Instead has been very reluctant to make sure that we are getting the education programs very specific with our caregivers. And I think that's really what's helped Home Instead kind of step ahead, is that we really love our caregivers, but we want to make sure they're trained properly. And so the training, when they finish it, they are considered a home health aide. Okay. And then they do have they are certified to care for people with Alzheimer's disease.
Oh, wonderful.
So, and they can take that with them.
Sure.
So, and really what's neat about our Alzheimer's program is that anybody can do it. So we actually have it online for family members as well.
Oh,
so they can go to helpforalzheimersfamilies.com.
Okay.
And so, it's really for anybody.
Sure.
That's what's great about it.
I want to give you a minute to brag on yourself, because I know the local Home Instead Senior Care won Best of the Bay.
We did.
That was amazing.
And You know, I was so surprised because they had just opened up the home care category this year, and I thought, oh well, that's cool. They're recognizing that home care is, becoming more and more commonplace in the area. And when I got news that we won, of course, I was just so excited. And, of course, the support of the community has helped so much to get us to that point.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yes.
Tell us about the option for 24-hour care, because that's a need that some people have.
Yes, and a lot of times when people need 24-hour care, there's usually two ways that it's happening. First, it's because they're coming out of the hospital and they really just need that immediate one-on-one care until they get better. So it's really considered short-term recovery.
Okay.
And the way that we can figure out if they need it is that when we go into the home, we do consultations, and we actually have a personalized care calculator assessment. And it is on an iPad. Our client care coordinators, they do an assessment, and it will actually calculate how many hours that they need. So it's almost like they're prescribing their care.
Okay.
And so then we'll know exactly where to start, and then we can come back with QA visits in the coming weeks or months, and then figure out if we need to add or delete hours as we go. So it's almost like a platform to get us started with care. Another way that they might need 24-hour care is if they're in a hospice situation. So in the end of life, whenever we come in and we can stay with them 24 hours a day, and of course to give respite care for the families.
Sure. I'm curious if you could just walk us through that process. So say, I discover that my dad maybe needs these services, it's time. I mean, where do I begin, and how soon can those services start?
Okay, so the best place to begin is if they're in a hospital situation or in a rehab, talk to your social workers.
Okay.
They can really direct you in the right way of, where to start, because in Florida, ACA, who's our governing body, we get our licenses through, it is patient choice. So the patient needs to have a choice of services that they can choose from. They need to call, set up consultation. We do an in-home consultation, which includes that personalized care calculator assessment. And then if they want to start services, we can start in as little as 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
And our caregivers, what's really nice about it is that we do personalized care introductions too. So whenever the caregiver starts their first shift into the home, we have one of our staff, well, it's more than likely the client care coordinator who did the consultation with the family. They will come back to the home with the caregiver on the very first visit to make sure that everything is in order.
Good.
Yeah, and that's something new that we've started this year, and it really has been successful for us.
Wonderful. We have just about a minute left, but I wanted to give you a chance to talk about our recent success with Give 65, which is a partnership with the local chapter and Council on Aging.
Yes. Give 65 is it's an online giving platform that is put on through our foundation. So Home Instead Senior Care has a foundation, and they've started doing this program. This is the third year that we've done it. It's the second year we've done it with you guys. And what's really cool is that we try to find a need in the area, and the need is that we found out that seniors needed ACs and fans, and of course Council on Aging, you guys did such a great job pulling that all together. So it's just kind of a piggyback of your senior chill out that you do with Lowe's, but we do it on an online giving donation. And this year we were able to reach our goal.
Wonderful.
Actually, go over our goal.
That's right. Fantastic.
So,
Stacy, thank you so much for all Home Instead does for us. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Don't go anywhere. Next, we'll chat with the Center for Independent Living about making life more accessible for all people, including some small but meaningful ways you can help.
The Residence is Covenant Care's new assisted living community for individuals with Alzheimer's and dementia, with life-enriching amenities and innovative care. Our 50% off move-in fee is good until February 1st. Call today.
Do you know why people are frightened about someday being placed in a nursing home? It is probably because they have visited one. Nursing home abuse is real, and it happens to people in all walks of life every day. If you think that a loved one may have been injured, abused, or neglected, you may be the only one that can help protect their rights. The consultation is free, and you are never charged a fee or cost unless we take your case and win. Give us a call.
In the time it takes you to leave your home, get in your car, arrive at a store, or complete some errands, how many obstacles do you think an individual with disabilities would encounter? If you are able-bodied, you probably don't even notice. Well, fortunately, there is a local agency dedicated to noticing and making life better for our neighbors and friends. Let's talk with Carolyn Growie about the Center for Independent Living. Carolyn, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Josh. We appreciate being here.
Absolutely. To get started, just give me a broad overview. What is the Center for Independent Living?
So the Center for Independent Living Disability Resource Center has been here in town since 1980, and we provide services with and on behalf of people with disabilities to allow individuals to have the highest quality of life and maintain their independence out in the community.
Okay, and I understand you offer 5 core services.
That's
Take us
correct.
through those.
So we have 5 core services, which is part of a federal mandate, but also, of course, because the center believes in doing the right thing. So our 5 core services are information and referral. Sometimes people may just touch tab with us for just a few minutes, need a resource, we connect them to it, or they may need something from us where we just can quickly give them that information and they're on their way. Other times an individual may be needing some independent living skills, and so we provide some skills training to help people learn how to adapt to their disability or to their home life or their work life, etc. And then they learn those skills and they may be on their way. We also provide peer mentoring, and peer mentoring is sort of being able to have somebody who you can identify with who may have gone through a similar experience, either with the same disability or through the same type of life-changing event that has occurred, and being able to have that support to move forward. And then we have advocacy. We do both individual and systems advocacy, and really that is helping to give a voice for yourself or for those who don't have one themselves to help make our community stronger and better and independent for all of us. And then the 5th core service is community transition, and it ends up happening at either one end or the other end of our aging cycle. And so, as you know, this show is coming of age. We're all coming of age from the day we were born till the day we die. And so for a lot of individuals, when they're leaving high school, there is community transition out into the real world, and so there's supports there. And then later in life, there might be community transition as people try to maintain their home life and not go into an institution. Or they've had an accident and then they try to maintain their home life. So those are some of our core areas that we touch on.
That's interesting. I'm curious if you can sort of take me through that transition process and the steps those individuals go through, because I imagine it's different depending on what stage of life you're in, like you were saying.
Yes, absolutely. The transitions may be that there's something that's changing in an individual person's disability, or it could be because of aging that something is adding on to their life. Like they may be losing sight, or they may be losing their hearing, or they may be losing their mobility. And so figuring out ways to help keep them safe at home and to help be able to communicate more effectively. It might be through our FGRI program, where they may come in and they may get a phone that would allow them to have communication access from their home. Or it might be that somebody is needing to learn how to use a walker, and then to borrow that walker, we have a loan closet in which we're able to give items to somebody. It may be that their disability is progressing and they're needing to know what are the next steps that they could do and to get those supports to advocate for their staying home. Because just because we want to go and make a difference doesn't mean we have to leave our house.
Sure.
We could, leave our house, of course, not to be quote unquote homebound,
Right.
but to be able to be in the community and still have access to services and events that we'd like to participate
And
in.
make an impact.
And make an
too.
impact, of course.
And I understand you help businesses comply with ADA regulations too, because that can be
Absolutely.
tricky, and businesses, I'm sure, want to. They might just be a little confused.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so there are a whole bunch of requirements that exist through Florida statute, through the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, as well as through building codes and such. And so what we do is try to help businesses assess whether they're meeting the standards that are required under those statutes in the ADA, to try to assist them with consultations. That is a fee-for-service type of program. We really do a lot of things for the community at no cost, but a business ought to be able to put some fees in order to make things happen.
Sure.
There are also ways that we help businesses so that their employees who may have disabilities can also be receiving the Title I employment ADA services. So we do both of those spectrums. But what we like to tell businesses is every day they're encountering people with disabilities. Sometimes you may or may not see it. You know, today you see my cane is sitting here. I could be out in the community and it could be a very well-lit day and I might not need to use my cane. Or it could be dark and I'd be using my cane, but I need to be able to have access to using their business. Don't they want part of the $210 billion that people with disabilities have to spend in our economy?
Sure.
So that's how we try to help make a difference.
Definitely. And I bet that emergencies, hurricanes, stuff like that can be a real challenge for individuals with disabilities. But you help with emergency preparedness, is that right?
Yes, we do. And in fact, you started the segment with how many things do people come across as barriers? Well, certainly in an emergency, there are other barriers that present themselves. So one of the things that we try to help individuals to have is to be disaster prepared so that they can kind of know where are the services that would be near them, what would be a place that they might need to go to if they needed to seek shelter, how can they have their checklist filled out, and what are the next steps that they can take. In doing so, every individual's needs are going to be different, and so we try to help people look for that. And of course, until the disaster happens, we don't know exactly what that's going to be, but if each of us, whether we have a disability or not, take that action to be prepared, we'll all be more prepared for when something does happen.
Sure. We have just about a minute left, but I wanted to be sure I asked you, what are some things that me as an individual or me as a business can do, those little things that really help individuals with disabilities?
So the biggest thing is to have a smile on your face and be welcoming as you would to everybody else. Our biggest barrier actually isn't the cement that's in the way.
Sure.
Our biggest barrier is attitude. And so when we have a positive, friendly attitude and atmosphere, it's a better world for all of us, and we can all be kind. And of course, speaking up when you see something that's a problem, let's all help each other to find the solution. If you let us know at www.cil-drc.org or writing us an email at info@cil-drc.org or giving us a call at 850-595-5566. We'd be happy to help anybody to try to find their next steps to making life a better place for them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Carolyn.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Until next time, enjoy life. You've earned it.